Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Cancer for July 2015. Go to my website, aspiritualspark.com, or click on the link below this video to see more about my personal live coaching, also to see more about my 28-day virtual coaching program called Shine, which is intended to help you bust through those self-sabotaging programs that are keeping you from being in your highest expression. And while you're there, definitely sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community. So what's going on in July? We have a lot going on for everyone, especially for Cancer. We have some specific things that are heightened for you. So let's just talk about everything. I'd like to say in order, but sometimes I jump back and forth when I'm comparing certain things, but we'll go mostly in order to give you a sense of what the evolution of the month will look like for you. First, happy birthday. The rest of you who did not have your birthdays in the June report, in the June time, then happy birthday to you. I love birthdays. Birthday wishes are one of the most exciting things that we can focus on because it's what we want, right? And everyone wants to have the things that they want. And on your birthday, you have a special portal open for your desires. Every planet in the zodiac represents part of the experience that we have as humans. And we each have all of these planets in a different sign. People are very complex, very, very, very complex. There's no such thing as a superficial person. You can see this when you look at an astrological chart. So the sun rules the segment of life that is our desires, our creativity, our fun, our happiness, and it's where we shine. So when this portal opens, when the sun in the sky gets to the same point as the sun in your chart, you have this magnificent probability increase for having your desires come true. And the way that you can make the most of this energy is to spend some time really thinking about the things that you want. Write them down in carefully worded statements. Making sure that you really get at the essence of what you're trying to create, and then say them out loud. And then the most important thing is you have to feel them as if they're coming true. This is manifesting 101. One of the most important principles, actually maybe the most important principle of manifesting, is being able to feel your desires as if they're already true. And on your birthday, when you do this, it becomes supercharged. So the 4 weeks before the sun gets into this portal, or this moving over your ascendant, or whether Cancer's your ascendant or Cancer's your moon or Cancer's your sun sign, when the sun gets in exact contact with whatever placement you have, that's when the most magic happens. But the 4 weeks before that happens, we have the sun in your solar 12th house. And the exact dates of those 4 weeks are going to depend on the exact degree of your placements. It's easy to figure out with your birthday, if your Cancer is your birthday, because it's just 4 weeks before your birthday. But you'd have to figure out this full 28-day cycle before the day that corresponds with your rising sign or your degree. So if you know how to do that, then that's cool. You can figure out exactly. If not, generally what's going on sometime before this exact transit happens for you. You've got the sun in your solar 12th house, and the sun is like a spotlight, and it brings focus wherever it is. And the 12th house, the solar 12th house, is or all the 12th houses in your charts is the house of your attic. It's the house of your deep subconscious. It's like an attic looks like. It can be dusty, it can be dark, it can be scary in there. There are things in there from your ancestry. There are things in there from God knows what, the previous owners of the house or whatever. And when the sun gets in that space in your chart, you can feel pretty funky. So if you're feeling this, then know that it will clear soon if it's based in this sun's movement. But it's not something just to wait and get through. It's something to use productively, and it's something to use to fuel your wishes. Because if you have all these things coming up that you don't want, it helps you to more readily figure out what it is that you do want so that you can use your wishes in the best way. So that is a summarized encapsulation of the energy leading up to the purposeful, challenging energy leading up to your birthday, and then the rebirth that you have. So right from the beginning of the month, we've got a power lineup. Really, July 1st and the days around July 1st are astrological power days of epic proportions. We've got the first of 2 full moons this month, and of course the moon rules Cancer, so you're going to feel this more. And so July 1st and July 31st are your full moons, and the days around there can be more full, more emotional. This full moon has an amazing aspect to Neptune. The full moon we had in June, although like any full moon, it can bring something positive to completion, there was some confusion and there was some chaos and the energies being not in a good angle to Neptune. But this full moon, July 1st, is in a wonderful aspect to Neptune. So that means that the sun and the moon are both having a favorable angle to Neptune at the time of the full moon. And the positive expressions of Neptune are, it brings artistry and it brings inspiration and it brings quiet contemplative moments of wonderful creativity. I'm calling one of the themes of this month, be in your studio. So this is one of those transits that if you had all of your mediums of however you create, whether that's painting or whether it's writing or whether it's puppetry or whatever your mode of creation is, you have everything dusted off and all ready in your office, in your studio, in a room, somewhere. When the inspiration strikes, you don't have to say, where was that thing? Or where was that notebook? Or where was whatever? You know, if you just have everything ready for this month, there's going to be a lot of continued chances for brilliance to come through you, and you want to capture it. So we've had this wonderful symphony, which began really last summer for many of you. Earlier placements, we had the Jupiter move into Leo. And when that did, for you early degree placements, it started expanding your house of money. So even starting as early as last spring of 2014, you may have noticed that your finances really started improving and your income really started improving. This is staggered, so you middle to later degree placements, if you haven't experienced this, you may still be experiencing this in the future because it hasn't gotten to all of those placements yet for each of the Cancer placements. So that started the symphony of expansion opportunities with money and financial topics. Then Uranus came and started making this awesome angle, bringing inspiration, bringing surprises, bringing new things, innovation, things out of the blue. And that energy started last summer, got strong at the end of last year, then kind of waned again. And now at the end of June, when we were back in this perfect 120-degree angle between Jupiter and Uranus. Uranus is accentuating your career and work and life purpose and father figures and authority figures and what it is that you're doing in the world. So the symphonies just we keep adding instruments to it. So that was getting stronger now at the end of June and is still very much in effect in July. Then on July 1st, Venus comes and joins the symphony. So Venus is conjunct Jupiter, meaning it's sitting right next to it. And that rules love, beauty, and money. For many of you, this is still in your 2nd house. Some of you have this happening in your 3rd house, which rules communication, rules relationships with siblings and other relatives that aren't your parents or kids. It rules your transportation, your communication, short trips. So either in that house or the house of finances, you're having this very strong symphony just getting louder with all of these instruments that are just beautiful. Later on in the month, we have more of a cacophony, but right now this symphony is really just becoming very strong and very beautiful, accentuating your work and career and money and expression. So when Venus comes and makes this beautiful aspect to Jupiter, it's also making this beautiful aspect to Uranus. So surprise things involving money and love. Then between July 2nd and 5th, we have Mercury coming in and making this beautiful angle right in between Neptune and this Jupiter-Venus conjunction. And for many of you, most of you, this is happening in your 12th house. So this is your house of dreams at night. You might have insights that add to your creativity at night. You want to have something to write on right next to your bed table, because if you wake up with something either in the middle of the night or you can't sleep or it's in the morning and you wake up and you have an insight, I have chills now thinking about it, because I've had this experience so many times, and this probability of this happening for you is very strong, especially at this time. You want to be able to write down whatever's happening, because Uranus's involvement makes it fleeting. So you have this great idea and you think, gosh, there's no way I can forget that. I don't need to write it down. It's like such a big idea. But you do need to write it down because it's by nature fleeting. And it just kind of comes in. And if you don't do something to capture it, it passes. So we have all of that going on at the beginning of the month, and it's beautiful and awesome. Then we start to have the cacophony beginning. So we've got this symphony really strong, and in the background there's this, like, you know, off instrument that is not involved in playing off key in the background, and that is the sun coming and opposing Pluto. So let's talk about Pluto for a second, because for you placements between, like, the early placements, if your birthday is at the end of June up until the last couple of days of June, that first segment of the sign, you have a while ago or just recently, or maybe still getting out of the woods, have had Pluto either opposing your sun or opposing your ascendant or opposing your moon, whatever you're watching for. And that is just straight up a beast. You know, we're going to say what comes good out of this, right? Because that is what I like to focus on. But the experience of a Pluto opposition is just a beast. And it rules birth and death and transformation and rebirth. And sometimes that birth and death and transformation is like literal. Sometimes there are literal deaths that occur in life, and sometimes they're figurative deaths, you know, where there's the death of something and something else comes new, but everyone's body is still intact. But Pluto now is turning its attention to still the last couple of degrees of June birthday, so the last couple of days of June birthday, and really strongly accentuating the first week of July birthdays, or the next set of degrees, you know, so from like 9 degrees through 16, 17 degrees of Cancer. If you have any placements there, Pluto is in opposition to those placements. And this is uprooting karma. This is uprooting really powerful experiences involving relationships, involving your identity, could be involving your health, could be all of those things. So those of you who are on the other side of it, you can attest to the fact that, wow, that's like intense. Like maybe only your astrologer can know how intense that is from an experiential standpoint, like as to what Pluto is really all about. You know, people on the outside might see you going through something, but really have no idea of the depth. Pluto rules Scorpio, and all of that depth that rolls into that energy is just profound. So you're going through this. You're completely redoing how you are presenting yourself in the world, how you are in all of your relationships. And now the sun is going to come and oppose Pluto. So for those of you who are not in this exact aspect with Pluto as I've described, you're still going to be affected by it, because this is happening for you in this 7th house of relationships and this 1st house of self. So this energy of me versus we is being really strongly brought up. You know, naysayers, people, you know, this is the kind of energy, like, let's say there's that person that you go to and you tell them things and they wind up dismissing it and putting it down, and it takes the wind out of your sails and you never get anywhere. But this time you have the chance, when you say something to them, that you become aware and say, oh my gosh, they suck, but I'm actually doing this to myself, and I need to stop doing that, because every time I talk to them about these things that are important to me, they're going to do this. So the only thing I have control in is stop giving my power and energy and ideas and creative life force energy away to this dynamic. I'm going to hold the gold. I'm going to share with people who will be supportive of me, and I'm going to do inner work so that I stop creating reflections like that. You know, this is a powerful moment, and there's multiple energies of, or layers of this happening this month, because Pluto is going, so around July 6th, and remember, whenever I give you a date, it's always also the dates around it. It's not only that exact date that there could be a manifestation. But later on in the month, we have, at that new moon in your sign, we have Mercury and Mars now coming and opposing the sun. So you've got to be really careful of your personal body, your things, because Pluto can be really combustive and volatile. And since this is happening for most of you in the house of your physical self, if there's any violence that's been around you, if there's been any problem with, you know, just something where you could be in danger, that things could escalate here, and you want to make sure that you're in a safe space. You don't want your wake-up call to be something that's very dramatic. You know, just let the energy itself, now that I'm talking about it, be your wake-up call to do something proactively, instead of having to have an event that becomes that wake-up call. So this is starting to brew around July 6th. Then we have some more sweet spots around July 8th and July 13th intermingled with this kind of cacophony that's starting in the background. And these again are aspects to Neptune. So here, Mars and then Mercury. Mars rules your energy, Mercury rules your expression, and Neptune is this beautiful spiritual planet, especially when there's a nice aspect to it, a positive, favorable aspect to it. It brings out, you know, the poetry and the flowers and the sweetness and the connectedness of all things and the creativity and the inspiration. So you've got some other spots here. Then on June 12th, we have the Sun squaring Uranus. And again, there's something here with a male figure in your life. You know, there's something, a surprising jolt. There could be something related to work. It could be something related to your physical body or your identity or your self-esteem. But there's a challenging angle here with Uranus. We've been talking about Uranus at length over the last previous months because we've had some really notable angles. And all the times that there's not a good angle with it, it really shows up in a you know, a way of not having happy surprises, jolts that come that are nerve jangling. When it's in a positive aspect, they're happy surprises. But here we have one of two aspects because we've got the Sun doing this. And then later on in the month, we have Mercury going to come and make that same square. So it's like this lineup. We have a lot of things doubling up here this month where something happens and then more things come along and do the same thing. It's like, here's the message. Did you get the message? Here's the message again. You get the message now, you know? It's another reason why I like to do these early is so that if you can start to understand what's brewing, maybe you can get part of the message early, if not all the message early, and prepare yourself. So this time as we're getting, you know, 6th into the middle of the month, it's not a time to antagonize anyone. It's not a time to test boundaries with someone in a negative way. It's not a time to push issues. It's a time to lay low. I always highly recommend having an outlet for your emotions, and this is for everyone for different reasons because it manifests through different people in different ways, but Cancer energy tends to hold this emotional energy, and it does often translate in actual digestive problems where you're holding what's supposed to be getting released from your body and it's creating more problems for you. So having something that can facilitate your letting go and your not letting things get crazy is very helpful. If you're not a type of person where you think you could work with a punching bag, something that I do and I recommend for kids and for adults is scream into a pillow. So just like when you get that feeling you don't know what to do and then maybe you wind up eating to like kind of squash it because it's coming from here, scream into a pillow as loud as you can, or something where you're not going to alarm your neighbors, but you can get it out. And the more you do that regularly, the more everything is going to flow more readily in your life. And this is a time where everything gets kind of crunchy and awkward. Then we have a square to Venus, Venus and Saturn. We talked about a nice aspect with Saturn last month, and we do have another one later this month. But when Saturn is in not a nice aspect, it can be grumpy and, you know, disapproving, and you're looking for this pat on the back and you're not getting it. And it's in love and it's in money, you know, so you could be having your boss and your boyfriend both, you know, annoy the crap out of you or whatever those other male figures in your life. Sometimes energies that, you know, really, there are certain energies in charts that historically relate to the gender male, but sometimes there's a little gray area there, you know, where someone that has a strong male energy in your life, gender not relevant, you know, can also fit into here. But there is something specific with males being really annoying this month. So then we've got our new moon in Cancer, and this should be like this one of your yay times of the year. This is the new moon in your sign, and it's totally getting its thunder taken by all of this chaos around. So I'm sorry about that, but don't let it interfere with you making your new moon wishes. You still have your new moon wishes, and you want to make your wishes about everything related to Cancer. So home and family and your intestinal health and ancestry and real estate matters. You want to make your wishes regardless of the chaos. Then we have Mercury and Mars coming in opposing Pluto in this possibly volatile, possibly dangerous way. I always tell you these things to not be scared, you know. I'm not telling you this so that you can be afraid and worry about that time. It's a time for you to prepare beforehand. The example that I'm really thinking of this month with this is that if you have, let's say, someone who doesn't have kids and dogs that you're going to go visit, and you have kids and dogs, if you have kids and dogs and they're not completely chaotic, then you should write a book about how that is happening for you, because they're just wild, unpredictable creatures. And if there's like a crowd of them, they knock things over, they make messes, they, bring dirt where it wasn't. So if you are a person who's about to have that descend upon your house, let's say you're a grandparent and your kids are coming with their kids and their dogs, you can either stress the whole time about worrying about your house getting torn up, or you can take out the good mats and put in your junk, your knock around mats. You can get the towels that aren't your favorite ones or maybe are darker colors. You can put the breakables up. You can get glass things out of the way. You can put little rubber things on the pointy things, then you can have a wonderful visit without stressing the whole time about what your house is going to look like when they leave. That's what this transit is like. You're going to have the stars come and be like a bull in a china shop, just tearing up the place. And if you prepare your inner space and you prepare your outer space and you do inner work, then this doesn't have to be nearly as awkward as it would be if you didn't prepare for it. So that's why I talk to you about these things, is to empower you. July 18th, we have that Mercury coming and making that challenging aspect to Uranus, kind of following up this story of surprises that can come in not as positive a way. And then we have a little sweet spot again. So July 21st through the 23rd, we have the Sun and Mercury conjunct, making this awesome aspect to Saturn. And this is a time where you might get your pat on the back. This is when Saturn is happy and it gives you that rare, you did good, kid, kind of smile or half smile or whatever. And that gives you enough to go on. It's like that kind of nice energy from an authority figure or something like that. So then we have Venus going in retrograde on July 25th. I've been talking about this for months because it's very relevant. This only happens once every 18 months. It's not like Mercury retrograde. We always have to talk about Mercury retrograde because it's so current and we experience it for half of every year, not in a row, but it winds up being around half of every year that we experience it. And so we're more well versed with that. But Venus retrograde we don't talk about as much. Venus rules love, beauty, and money. If you have cosmetic procedures that are elective and you have them scheduled for that time, change the date. Consider changing the date. It's the worst time for cosmetic things. You are not having a clear picture of what you want. Anything in beauty is kind of shadowy. Anything in money and love is also shadowy. It lends itself to going backwards. There are many positive things that can come from this transit. You just want to avoid certain things like making extra commitments in love. If you're pending to move in with someone, don't move in with them in Venus retrograde. If it's a romantic relationship, don't make a business commitment if you can help it. Don't make it a big investment of money unless it's something that's an absolute bargain and you know for sure it's a good deal and you have all clarity around it, because this is a good time to get some bargains. You don't want to pay full price for a luxury item during this time. You might hate it at the end, or you might break it, or you might find out it's not worth anything and you spent a bunch on it and it's not returnable, things like that. This is an amazing time for proactive couples counseling. If you've had any trouble in your relationship or these things have been brewing, get yourself some assistance, either for yourself or for yourself and who you're with, because this is one of the best times to excavate and assist things in love. So then we've got that full moon at the end of the month, which can bring a little extra drama because Venus now has retrograded into Leo, and when Leo is involved, there could be a little bit of extra energy there, especially at the full moon. But I can't see what's going on in your personal chart. If you'd like a birthday reading, go to my website, aspiritualspark.com. See more about my live coaching sessions. Also, definitely pick up the 28-day virtual coaching program that I put together called Shine. This is a wonderful gift to yourself to clear out the self-sabotage and to shine, to bring your brilliance into the world and to make the most of all the starry opportunities. And definitely sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community. So I hope you have a wonderful month, and I'll see you next month.